Maritime Matters is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense
It
Force.
is very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
And pleasant good evening to you, our valued listening audience. Welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. We're coming to you live via Love 97 FM. This is Tuesday, the 8th day of October 2024. And if it's a Tuesday, it's Maritime Tick, 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 Tick Matters. We encourage you, if you're driving in this wet weather, to drive extremely cautiously. It's pouring rain all over Nassau, and we know what's going on. Hurricanes are traveling and all kind of things going on. The second hurricane, I think, within a week to hit Florida. It ain't hit yet, but we know it's packing up. This one is going to be the big one. So, let me just tell you something, dear listener. Coming here, or should I say driving here to the studio, was a challenge. I almost had to rent a boat. So if you are on the road, I know exactly what you're going through right now. So you know what that means. You probably can listen to the whole show while you're on the road. Boy, because that traffic backed up so bad. Man, I had to take shortcut, and that's when I needed the boat, eh? But please, be patient and ensure that you get there safely. Our sponsors for the night show are One-on-One Pharmacy and also Island Care Pharmacy. For all your medication needs, check out my little cousin, Shantia McBride, and her lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy in Nassau. And of course, Island Care Pharmacy up there in Freeport. And Freeport is bracing. You know, Freeport is a magnet for hurricanes. But we, with my old auntie and my mom used to say, we taking that one. We God could take care of Freeport this time. Now Florida getting some of what Freeport used to get. So up there in Freeport is Island Care Pharmacy. You can fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. That's oneononepharmacy, all lowercase, all one word, .com. Again, the three locations: East Street South in Nassau. When you go to East Street South, you got to tell Joy hello for me. That's the pharmacist. She keeps things ticking and talking and rocking and rolling. Hello, Joy. And of course, we got the other location for One-on-One Pharmacy would be Charles Sanders Highway, and all my family them wake up there. So whoever you talk to, that's family. I tell you that. Tell them. And of course, the one on Expressway downtown Freeport. That's where my big cuz. That's where Steph. You know who Steph is? That's Shanti, your mommy. She don't want me to talk her business. Think she young like me. Anyway, Steph, you know how we roll. Tell Steph hello for me. Let her know Maritime Matters sent you, and you could give her a little kiss for me. She wouldn't say nothing. She just like to be kissed. She's something like me. She's very adorable. Loves her hugs. Loves her kisses. So kiss Steph for me and say, why don't I do it for Maritime Matters? I must kiss you when I come in here. So take this. And we're secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited. At BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. Excuse me. Good night, Annie Mae. You know, Freeport also houses my good old Annie Mae. I talked a couple times this week. Boy, and one thing with her now, she always send me those voice notes every day. I mean, Annie Mae don't miss. And she's been right on a game. That's our number one fan up there in Freeport. I say good evening to her. That's my good old Annie Mae, 91 years old and going strong, people. As you all know by now, that's my good old Auntie Mae. You're listening to Maritime Matters. And on this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters as weekly at 17:05. That's 5:05 p.m. every Tuesday here on Love 97 FM. The purpose of our show is to highlight persons that made significant contributions to the maritime in the Bahamas, and of course to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector. We can talk a little bit about opportunities tonight, especially with those cruise ships. We got to do better. We also cover current maritime issues from the domestic and international maritime fields. The phone number to call us should you wish to get in on discussions during the show, and we really want you to call, especially tonight, because boy, we got some things I can't even answer some of those questions I want to ask myself. So I hope some of y'all can help me out. That's 326-8255. Number to call, again, once we get into our discussion, would be 326-8255. To hear a replay of this show or any of our previous shows, simply hit us up at any time you like via our YouTube page. That's Maritime Matters Bahamas. That's Maritime Space Matters Space Bahamas. I don't want to say dash because there's a little space between each word, right? But y'all know how we do this. So let's go to YouTube on your electronic device. Type into the search box Maritime Matters Bahamas, and you will see all kind of previous shows showing up. I tell you the latest one could be first, but sometimes that's how they do it. But again, you will be able to pull up this and all of our shows. Give me time to load this one tonight, but before the night is out, this one will be loaded. So, let's talk maritime. Hello! Our topics for the night shall address the following. Well, let me tell you something. We locked and we loaded. Tonight could be rocking and rolling night. First topic out the bag. Trespasser ordered to vacate Moscow Group Beach Club land. So, there's an article in the dailies saying how the Moscows, that's and they got a company representing them, of course. They want to use that land. You know where Rock Point is? That's that area when it gets night, it's dark. They don't even want no lamppost light around that area, right? But it's a wall, it's a very steep bend. If you heading west on West Bay Street, as you pass Sun Fun Resort, you will see on your right hand side that lovely property that you can't really see inside the yard because it all wall around, but you go around a bad curve, and when you get out, then you heading for what that big time restaurant name, what the people who own what I think the name would be like the Bamboo Shop, what that restaurant name, I can't remember the name right now, but somebody could call and remind me, right? Just before you reach that. But that whole property on your right hand side as you drive toward that restaurant property is Rock Point, and that's the same place where when they had the Thunderball James Bond movie in 1965. A lot of people don't know about this, right? Thunderball movie. James Bond went on that property where they had the sharks swimming in the pool, and you look at the beach, and the beach is so stunning, and the beach is still very stunning, I can tell you, because I remember when I was a little boy going to Wood Rogers Primary School on Wolf Road there opposite the AID, and we used to do field trips, and that was the beach that just about all the classes used to go to. They used to catch bus, pay for the bus to go out there and drop us out there, and you had access to that beach. You don't have it no more today because they have it all wall in, right? But that's like the best beach. That was the best beach in Nassau as far as I was concerned, and as far as most of us was concerned. And I think that's why they took it away from us, because the owners at that time didn't have any wall or fence or anything to stop us. And then they had some coconut trees and castorina trees. Once you go up on a little hill, when you look down, all you see is the most beautiful, spectacular beach you ever seen. And something like Cabbage Beach. You know how Cabbage Beach, like on a little hill, and when you look, you can go down into the water like, boy, that's so pretty. But I see that since I was a little boy because I can't get to it. And then they do have a beach access there, That beach access, where Sun Fun is, in that corner that you take if you go into the Sea Beach. Well, okay, instead of going into Sea Beach, just go on the opposite side of the Bay Street, and there's a walk path that gives you beach access to that area. But when you get on that beach and you take your left and you walk along the beach, you can come to an area where they have like rocks and I don't know if they call it groin or whatever, and they don't even want you to come on that beach, although the beach is supposed to be what? Public, free, no private. Is that beach at Rock Point private or public? That's the question. And I want somebody to call in and let me know, right? Because they say all beaches in the Bahamas are public. Now that's what the law says. That's what Glenn Bain said. All beaches in the Bahamas are public. You cannot own a beach. But you know what's tricky? What they mean by a beach. You know, when we think about the beach, we talk about hopping out our car and walking out there and then going in the water and swimming. And we need some place to lay our towel on the sand and that type of thing. But the sand is not what is referred to in the regulations. Regulations say all that property on the seaside up to the high water mark. In other words, when tide is high, wherever the water lay, that's nobody can own that. So when you walk on the beach and tide ain't high, and you see the little line where the seaweed is be, up to that point, nobody could own. And then I saw, when I was at the port as deputy port director, I was challenged and I had to find out from Lands and Survey how this beach thing go. Really, I think we had some jet ski issues and it came up as to where this fella could bring his jet ski and still be off the hotel property or any person property or any resort property. And I called and I didn't get the law as it was written, but I think I recall, and I could be wrong, right? Because boy, I was looking for it doing my research and I found it. I could recall where they say is 50 feet beyond the high water mark is like a buffer area. Like nobody could own that. That's crown property. I sure, because I look for it and I see nowhere in law. But I know that's the law in the US, right? The US say they got a 50 feet buffer area beyond high water mark where you can't really own. So people could come in and enjoy the beach, any beach in the US, but you may have not access from land, but once you're in a boat, you go on a beach, nobody could run you. So my understanding is that some of these people, like who would have lived or occupied that property, actually believe that nobody could come on that beach behind where they have it all walled off. But if you come by boat, you can go on any beach anywhere in the Bahamas and put your foot. Once you don't go up beyond high water mark, they can't say nothing to you. They can't lock this. They can't own that. That beach belongs to everybody. But the trick comes in when it comes to that 50 foot beyond high water mark that we like to hang out in and sit down and have our drinks. Who owns that? Or the question is, how far could these private individuals own leading up to the beach? But I ain't no lawyer. But I ain't dumb either. So, I would like some of y'all who know, especially y'all people who work in Lands and Survey, especially y'all people who work on some of these resorts, and y'all lawyers. Come on, man. Finally, let the public know what is our rights when it comes to going on a beach from seaside. We can only go as far as where the high water mark is, or we could go beyond that because there's a buffer that nobody can own. And if you look at these buildings that own property on the beach, look at where they put their wall. They can't never put their wall on the high water mark. So obviously they can't own up to the high water mark, as far as I know. So that brings up a lot of questions. And you people with all the knowledge out there, our listeners want to know. And some of your listeners who know. Man, come on. 326-8255. That's the number to call. Right? If you buy a boat, you could go anywhere in the Bahamas on any beach. Nobody have no right to stop because nobody could own beyond high water mark. Now, leading up to that high water mark, I want to know, is there a buffer? Is it 50 feet? Is it 20 feet? Is there any buffer at all? Could those landowners own up to the high water mark, or they have to give some buffer between the high water mark and where they land stop? Somebody should know. Lands and survey, where all at? Please, let the public know. But that's our first topic. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the delay in trying to get this caller connected. I'm sure we're going to work something out. In the meantime, let me just press on. We're talking about that beach, opposite Sea Beach Estate, which is Rock Point, owned by the Moscows. I think the daddy Moscow, before he passed on, was living on that property. Now what the Moscows want to do is they want that property to become, and yeah, I need some feedback on what is the right that the public have when it comes to beaches. And could people be putting groins in the water, in the sand leading to the water, so that you can't walk to, even if you within the high water mark, you still can't walk to the beach? Well, I know that's a no-no. I don't know which government entity giving them rights to do that, or if they have rights to do it, but they have the grounds there. Even at Atlantis and Bahamas and Sandals and everywhere else, they cannot block off the beach from people walking within the high water mark to that beach because they can't own it. So how come this could be done at Rock Point? Because I've seen it. So I ain't asking nobody nothing. How come this could be done at Rock Point and can't be done nowhere else in Nassau? And we talk about public access to beaches and all the rest of them. 4 Seasons Yachts launching all Bahamas vacation package. So we got this high-end yachting company. Oh, we got to talk about some details of that. I mean, these people charging millions of dollars. No, it ain't that much. But they certainly charging, like, I think $70,000 per week or something like that for every couple. I think something like that. I'm sure, but I got the details. And when we come back to it, we'll be talking about those 4 season yachts. Because remember now, the government is going to get that 4% plus, I think, back. So that's 14% tax on every single one of those voyages. And apparently they got 4 nice spankadocious yachts coming to the Bahamas, or 3 of them coming every week. And they could be doing 5-day cruises. And for those 5-day cruises, I think it comes out to some $100,000 and something per week. So we're talking big bucks, eh? And that's going to be happening, I think, starting in 2025. So we have a dispute going on between some neighbors in Exuma Land and Sea Park. You can imagine that. The land and sea park, the area where cow dying, fish dying from old age. Why are they dying from old age? Because we're not allowed to touch them. That's a protected area. And in that area, we got 2 megabucks people. I think one spending, how much? 200 million, one entity, and the next entity spending, must see, is it 60 million or 6 million? Anyway, I got the details coming up after the break. We'll talk about those 2 big resorts in Exumas that one is saying this one shouldn't be allowed to put a marina because he got a snorkeling people, and the marina is going to tear up the seagrass meadows and the reef and all that good stuff. And then I kind of like his talk, right? But again, we can see what's going on because even the authorities are saying they think it's too much mess could be damaged, and they saying that the entity that the big one that's spending $200 million could put that same marina on the southern side where the water's already deep, wouldn't be much dredging, reef there, yada yada yada. So we could talk a little bit about that. So we know within 48 hours a big hurricane Milton already brewed up. Went up to Cat 5, came back down to Cat 4, going back up to Cat 5, and there's nothing between Florida and the eye of that hurricane except deep Gulf of Mexico Ocean. And that Gulf of Mexico Ocean, as you know, this time of the year, is still warm. So that hurricane, although it's predicted that that's going to make landfall at Cat 3 or Category 3, the way it's looking now, boy, you ain't look like that. Could slow down, no time to make no landing. So that may hit a category 5, category 4, or even category 3. Even category 2, that will be devastating, eh? We know it's going to be very devastating. But based on what it's doing now, they expect it to hit probably a category 6. Or that ain't no category, sorry. Don't let me mislead you on that. Okay? It stops at category 5. But boy, that's what it is now, and that's how it's looking. So, we got to brace, well, not ourselves, but brace ourselves for those in Florida, because most of them have taken a high road now, and they're not taking no chances, especially those on the west coast like Tampa and Bradenton and Sarasota and up in the Panhandle. They going away from the coast because, you know, Florida ain't got much hills. So most of them go into Georgia and up that way because it's really, really looking dangerous with this Hurricane Milton. It's coming right on the tail of Hurricane Helene, eh? Hurricane Helene came last week and did plenty damage. And all the debris and stuff are still hanging on the road, on the side of the road, in front of people. They have time to tote them away yet. Now here comes the big bad wolf. So I heard the governor them saying, hey, look here, we ain't got time for trucks to come and tote them away because we need to evacuate you all. So before you all go, whatever debris you can put in your house, because what this other hurricane can do is it can use those wood and tree roots, tree trunks and appliances that got flooded out and all that. It can use them as missiles to finish break up the place. And we don't want that. So please try and either tie something over it, like a piece of canvas or something to keep it together, or put them inside your house until you come back, because boy, they could be a menace. And that's what Florida is being faced with as we speak. It's a big panic. You turn on the TV, you see it on every channel, even BBC and everywhere in the world know about this. And because, you know, recently we just had that Hurricane Helene, and then we had a big typhoon hit Japan and them. And that typhoon was carrying on bad. That was a full strength, you know, typhoon is the same as hurricane. But because it's in the Pacific Ocean going west, they refer to it as typhoon. And that was, I think, week before last too. And that did damage galore, floods galore. And this is the thing we worry about too, the flood. You remember what that hurricane did is very similar to what our Hurricane Dorian did. It went on land and it sat for about a day and a half without hardly moving. It was just inching, something hold it up, it couldn't go, and then eventually started moving again. And so, boy, that place is flooded. Bad. Anyway, I had the best terminology to use. I'm glad my daughter Misty listening to me. She said, but Daddy, you can be more professional. Yeah, I know professional, man. I ain't been to college and get them. The only degree I get is my BTE. And I ain't trying to play the guys know this or that. Anyway, operations resume at the U.S. East/Gulf Coast ports. You know, all the ports from Maine up in the Northeast, all the way around Florida, all the way around to Texas. All those ports were closed because fellas got on strike 1 minute after midnight. Last week, I think it was Tuesday, or last week Monday, something like that, right? And it took all of 3 days for them to resolve the arrangement enough to put it off for 90 days. So it's going to come back in January. The middle of January, the agreement is going to come back. But what they agreed off the cuff is to pay them people a lot more money. They were asking for some 77%. And you know, usually you ask for higher so that you could bargain in between and come down a little bit. Boy, but they ain't come down much. Usually, what the port was offering them initially was 40%. They wanted 77, almost double that. And the port said, okay, you know what we can do? We'll go up to 50%. They said, wait, we get a strike. And they strike. And then the port decided, after the further negotiation, okay, we'll go to 62%. So now, instead of getting 77%, they go, I know they really didn't think they would get that much, but they got it anyhow, right? But there are still some remaining matters pertaining to the strike. The main one being AI, or artificial intelligence, or all these computers to take over these fellas' jobs. Because you know computers could unload chips now and load chips. computers could drive those gantry cranes and put those containers in certain bays or wherever they got to go. And computers could do these things. They're doing it in China all the time right now. But what the Yanks are saying, well, I say the Yanks. They know that they're known worldwide as the Yanks. That's the Macarons, the Americans, eh? What the Americans are saying, especially these longshoremen, they say, look here, what you all do in China, it's your business. Don't try to bring that here. Because machines don't pay bills. Machines ain't gonna pay no taxes. Machines ain't gonna be going in the food store and buying food. Machines ain't gonna be buying clothes. So if you all computerize these parts and have machines doing all this work, the only people who can be making the money is the owners of these ports. Because all of us can lose our job. So we're not having it. And if you try it, we can strike. So you got this business going on now where, well, I guess worldwide eventually most of these containerized ports, especially containerized ports, will have all kind of machine doing things that, well, you gotta remember now. One time ago, men had to go and physically lift things off ships, you know. They had no cranes. They had no gantry crane and straddle carriers and containers, which you call boxes, to move all these things around the world. So technology is always improving. So the next step is to get machines to do these things. How the Yanks believe now that's not going to happen in a first world country like the US. Anyway, we can talk about that a little bit. We only can talk about what we can talk about with the time allowed now. Because boy, you see we got a lot of things going on in maritime and we ain't trying to leave none of it out, eh? Then we got to talk about the world's largest cruise ship. As they leave the assembly dock for outfitting. So they ain't finished. It's being built as we speak. And the largest one was Icon. So this one is the sister to the Icon, eh? And she is just being launched. And that would be, I think they can put the Azaport, the propulsion system in, and that type of thing. And this one is around the same size, 248,600, right? And I think that the Icon was just slightly less tonnage than that. But they always take it 1 or 2 tons higher. And the same class, with the same mold, they gonna build a series of those ships, right? Like the Icon side, this mold is the Icon mold. And when they build a series of ships, those ships would eventually be over 250,000 gross tons. And that's what I predict. Because I know how these people just carry on, right? They wanted to get bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. So the next one is going to be probably very, very close to 250,000 gross. But this one is only 248.6 thousand, which is the biggest ship in the world. And the Aqua Dome alone that they're going to place on that ship is like the biggest Aqua Dome ever made. And the heaviest Aqua Dome ever made. So we could talk a little bit about all the things that's going on with that particular ship, the largest ship in the world, being ready to go into service sometime next year. We can talk a little bit about the Houthis, eh? Y'all remember them? We got the 3 big H carrying on up there in the Middle East. The Houthis are the ones that are causing ships to no longer be able to use the Suez Canal to get from the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea to take that shortcut, or vice versa. Because they've been just bombing ships like mad, right? They sank 2 and they really damaged a lot, and they just had a base. And they were just making attacks like mad. And so we can talk about some of those details about what the Houthis are doing. And of course, the Americans had sent quite a few missiles ashore in Yemen targeting Houthi launch points. But again, they didn't get too far. So we're gonna realize how after weeks, about 7-8 weeks, the Houthis had the tanker Sonian on fire. And they could see that fire from space. But now the fire has just been put out. So again, the Houthis was doing some dangerous damage, eh? We want the entire world to go net zero by 2050. Now that's a mandate by the United Nations. That ain't Glenn Bain saying, I want that or we hope that. No, that's a mandate by the United Nations, and that is on the way of happening. Ain't nothing you or me or I want to say Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, because he said when he get back in office, he could drill, baby, drill. We could talk a little bit about that, but we need to talk about that. Because we know he's saying that because even if he get it, he only get 4 years. So if he come in 2025, 2029, he out, so that mandate to do things by 2030, that could be somebody else's problem. I know Mr. Trump, he know exactly what he did. And he may drill, baby, drill. Because he know that ain't be his headache, right? And you know he done know like listen to United Nations and things they do, and he do his own thing. We don't know if we can get it or not, but we'll have to wait and see. And we ain't gonna wait too long, because boy, that day approaching real fast. The IMO, the International Maritime Organization, they made progress with their MEPC, which is the Maritime Environmental Protection Committee. That's the committee that deals with keeping oceans clean, and now keeping the air clean, because they got everything coming under MARPOL, air pollution and all the rest of that. But they're dealing now with the carbon. So they're getting ready to make decisions on how we going to cut this carbon to get it to net zero by 2050. What stages we can take, what milestones or timelines we can use, and all the rest of that good stuff. That's how IMO works. That's how the UN works. And that's how all the armaments under the UN works, right? While IMO is working on that, ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, is working on how the planes can be able to fit into that 2050. And at 2050, some of them still can be, like the planes may have to be burning some fossil fuel. But then they got this thing called carbon capture system. So while that carbon, instead of getting, they catch that and put that in a tank or create a space underneath in the belly of the plane somewhere, but the plane ain't got much space, they got our luggage right now. So that they could capture that carbon, convert that, and store it until they reach the next spot, take that out, and keep that space clear so they can keep doing that. Eh? Some short voyage planes obviously would be able to do it, but those ones like when you go into London and Dubai and them kind of place with them big A380 and what I think that's what it is, them 380, them big, the biggest planes in the world. Why they be up in there for 15 and 16 hours? So they got more space than other planes. So who knows? They might just be storing them. We'll see. But IMO is dealing with the ships and their drawdown on what they got to do to meet compliance to net zero by 2050, eh? So as you might imagine, we are locked, we are loaded, and we are heavily laden with information surrounding these timely topics. We're talking maritime, people. You are listening to Maritime Matters. At this point, we move to our first break, and when we return, we will engage tonight's maritime discussions. Listen, people, you do not want to miss this one. Thank you very much.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for holding out for us. We are back. You are listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. And, we just ran over a long list of very important topics that we're going to discuss tonight. And somehow, the phone system is having problems. So what I'm going to do for the first time on this show is I'm going to give out my cell number. And if you feel compelled to call, feel free to hit me up on my cell phone. That's 359-1424. You call, I'll put you on speaker, and we will. The public should be able to hear your call. So that's 359-1424. And with that, I think we'll go back to our first topic. We have a situation at Rock Point on West Bay Street where the Moscow Group is aiming to develop a beach club featuring a zip line attraction in front of a public beach on land it owns between Sandy Port and Cayes Village. Now, this is what the newspaper say. This ain't what Glenn Bain say. And they get this company called Houthis Limited, which is the group's real estate development and leasing arm for properties such as Harbour Bay Shopping Centre, has unveiled plans for the 7-acre project on New Providence North Coast at a location known as Rock Point. The development, which requires approval from Town Planning Committee and other planning regulators to be rezoned from residential to commercial. And I tell you, that's where Mr. Moscow, the old man, before he passed, that's where he lived. I'm not sure anybody lived there now, or if any of the family would have moved in there. But obviously what's being proposed now is to turn that residence into a full-scale commercial property before it can proceed. So before they do that, it will also feature swimming pools, a beach bar, cabanas, lounges, and a conch stand, a gift shop, a vehicle parking and changing rooms, lockers, and showers. So, there's a big thing of going on. Hey, look, the Bahamas can't have too much locations for tourists to go and have fun and locals to go and have fun when they want. Because I can tell you, that is a spectacular beach. And I remember that big pool in the movie Thunderball where the sharks were swimming around, and I think that's where Jaws did his thing, eh? You know, James Bond, he never get too far without Jaws. Anyway, it goes on to say, given the project's proximity to Sea Beach Estates, several sources have suggested there will likely be opposition at the town planning meeting due to concerns over increased traffic volumes and congestion. So obviously, if you're going to put a big resort there, you convert that into a big resort, you get more traffic. You got more people trying to get in and out of there. And the road runs basically right alongside the wall, alongside the property. And I think some adjustment will have to be made traffic-wise, eh? Goes on to say, ahead of the town planning hearing and public consultation, the Moscow Group of Companies and Houthis Limited have been busy evicting an alleged trespasser, a daiquiri shack operator, from the Rock Point property and development site. Houthis Limited has obtained an August 2nd, 2024 ruling from Justice Carla Stubbs, or Card Stubbs, requiring Andrew Murray, operator of Dak Shack, that's Daiquiri Shack, I guess it is, or Tropical Daiquiri, to pull down or remove his structure within 3 weeks, plus remove all tables, benches, and other belongings from the site within the same time frame. An injunction was also issued to prevent Mr. Murray from trespassing on the land. So here it is. This Mr. Murray owns, and I know exactly, I mean, all of us should know. Anybody who go walking out there, or go jogging out there, or drives out there frequently will know that right opposite that western road that takes you in the Sea Beach, I think it named Sea Beach Road or something like that, right? Right opposite that is where a tree, I think a sea grape tree with one or two stalls, right? And that's right on side of the beach. And ain't much space between the road and the beach right there. But apparently that is part of the Moscow's property. Now, I tell you from as a little boy I used to be getting around here, right? I don't know when that area was acquired by the Moscows, because I peeped the plan. I peeped the proposed plan. And the proposed plan want to use that particular spot to have a tower so that the people coming off the property that is walled in on the zip line would end right there where the shack is, in that direct vicinity. So I am only assuming now that since this zip line is being proposed, that property may have been bought recently. So I don't know if that's the fact or that's the case, but the size of that property, because the Moscow's property was always walled in, but that area was always exposed to the public. So my thing is, that was not part of the original property where the Moscows had owned or purchased, or the one that was in the James Bond movie, Thunderball. But, I don't like to speculate too much. Maybe it could have been. Maybe they only acquire it now that they're going to put that zip line in place. And if that's the case, I mean, Mr. Murray was given the option to sign off. They're saying as Andrew Murray, operator of Dark Shack or Tropical Daiquiri, to pull down and move his stuff. And it goes on to say, we have twice offered Andrew Murray to lease that property for $1 a year. He refused that twice and told us where to go. Oh my goodness, Andrew Murray, you're easy. So Andrew Murray said, ain't they all $1 lease? Because what will happen if Andrew was to take that lease? Once you sign that lease and pay that $1, or even if you don't do it, once you sign that lease, you are agreeing that that's their property. Now let's suppose Andrew was operating on that property years before it was acquired for the purpose of putting that zip line in place. Let's just suppose. Now I don't know what the facts are, and like I said, I don't like to speculate, but you can imagine if you was Andrew, and that's the case, because we ain't getting no details from Andrew's side, okay? And we need to find out, and that's why I wish somebody could call me. Again, the number to call 359-1424. Boy, the reception here be bad. Let me stop everything on my phone now, so that reception will be a little better. And if you're trying to reach me to give me some answers, because I'm looking for answers tonight, I want to know, when did the Moscows acquire the outside portion of that property that was basically free space to everybody? That's why the Daiquiri Shack could have been there without him paying anybody, and anybody saying you're on my property. But all of a sudden, he's finding out that he got to pay to be on this property, and he might have been there for years. But I mean, from my understanding, he was there for years. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's the situation. If I get any calls, I'll go further with it. You all ain't calling, so you all ain't worrying about that. So let's go on. Four Seasons Yachts launching all Bahamas vacation package. Can you imagine? All Bahamas. In other words, what they can do is they can come here for 5 days, and you know where they can spend most of the time? Right? It's smack in the Land and Sea Park. So Four Seasons Yachts is preparing to launch an all Bahamas cruise aboard its luxury yacht. that will cost vacationers more than $17,000 per suite. You see that? $17,000 per suite. And they got, based on what I heard, they must have got but over 100 suites, eh? Let me read on. According to an article posted by Caribbean Journal, according to the article, the 5-night luxury cruise will leave from Miami with a highlight being stays in the Exuma Sound. Tell you that's a lot of sea park. Four Seasons Yachts brings this vision to life with its Bahamian itineraries for the 2026-27 season. So apparently they must have going somewhere else out of Miami. But now they're coming to the Bahamas, land and sea park. That's the best, cleanest, clearest waters in the world. The land and sea park. I've been through that place. I remember when I worked for this company called, it was a big mothership called Carpe Diem. And the mothership had 2 docks, one on each side, that they took up on a stick way up in there when the ship was moving. But when they got on anchorage in the Exumas, or when we got, because I was captain of the ship, we would connect to moorings that were put in place. And once we connected to the mooring, because we don't want to drop no anchor and mess up the seabed, so we had moorings placed there that was able to hold that Carpe Diem ship. And that ship was good size. It had a disco. It had a nice 5-star restaurant with cooks out of France and all over the place. Well, let me tell you something. That Carpe Diem was solid. It only had one big slow turning engine. That's why it was so difficult to maneuver. But I still used to get it where I need to go, right? And we went to the Exumas every week for at least 5 days. Came back, replenished, get a fresh set of people coming and flying into the airport and gone another week. And the stops where we had those, and we had 5 concrete anchors that had the buoy on top for us to connect to, the mooring buoy. Okay? And we would connect the Carpe Diem to those mooring buoys. And the tranquility, the beauty of the waters. I didn't even know a ship, because that ship was like 12 to 14 feet draft. I didn't know that ship could get in some of those areas, right? But we be able to get them in there. What my friend Nemo used to wait to oh boy, Paradise Harbor Club. He was the dock master. Oh, I saw him the other day. I can't remember his name. He took me in the land and sea park, and he actually showed me places where 12-footer to 14-footer could go and drop anchor. And you will be amazed at where a ship could have gone in that land and sea park. And you only got to show me something once. Boy, and I used to get that every week. And we went there and came back, get a fresh crew, going on there. But I just say, you got in that land and sea park, like I say, you got conchs and groupers, all them things dying from old age because fishing is not allowed. You're not allowed to fish in there. And the fellas from Black Point, I know a couple of them, because they used to tell me, Black Point and Stanley Key, they used to sneak in there every now and then on a little skiff. But they got the park ones. Or them park ones, if they get you in trouble, used to be running them and making sure they don't come and thief too much fish out of the land and sea park. But people just get a little fish here and there, especially those yachts. They're always getting fish out there to eat while they're there. But they don't do no commercial fishing, and stuff like that. That's why a lot of them must be dying from old age. So, this Four Seasons yacht will be going in and out of there on a routine basis. I think 3 ships every week, 3 yachts every week, and they have. So you're talking over 100 cabins at $17,000 each. So you can imagine how much money our government is going to be making at 14% for each one of those voyages. That's good money. Now I hope we collect it, because we don't have a good record on collecting our money from these charter yachts. But this one, they putting this in the paper, so they can't duck us. I think they're trying to duck us. People don't try to duck, We used to get swing. We tell you how we used to get swing. We used to get swing because the agents, just about all the agents were in Florida. The agents used to collect the 4% from the ships, but they never used to give it to the port. So the ship paid what they supposed to pay, figuring the port get the money, but they ain't because the charterers got to pay the people who chartering for that voyage, eh? So them agents is getting rich of us. They're just getting all our government money. Now I don't know if that stopped or if some of that's still going on, but I need the port department to understand. You all need to take charge of these charter yachts. You all need to lock up one or two of them. You know, lock up one or two of them, send the message out to the rest, because like I say, it may not be the people who charter the ship. They may have made the payment. It may be the brokers, the agents who made the arrangement for that cruise. They collect the money from those who want the cruise, because some people got plenty of money, eh? And instead of turning it over to the port like they're supposed to, they put it in their own coffers and say the port's slack, they ain't gonna know nothing, we ain't checking for them. And it's sad. It's sad to see that we get to that state, right? So, another thing out of the Exuma Land and Sea Park. We talk about the Exuma Resort neighbors at odds on the project's plan, right? This one, and I'm going to read again directly out of the dailies, because I don't think Glenn Bain making up none of this stuff. Two neighboring Exuma Resort developments are at odds over the larger project's plan for the location of its northern dock and scale of its built-out plans. So Philippe McLean, not McLean, McLean, Integra Group's founder and chief executive, pledged that his Big Samson Key project, you know, Big Samson Key is the one that's supposed to be putting that with the big damn hotel name up there, and I think that's the one with $200 million operation, eh? The Rosewood Hotel, right? So Big Samson Key project is committed to eco-sensitivity, and that all concerns raised by Turtle Grass Resort. Turtle Grass Resort is the one who put in the protest, the one who got this little project going on, right? He ain't got no this big 200 million going on. He got them little millions. Actually, this million is big too. 75 million. That ain't small. That's huge, but it ain't huge like the Samson Key operation at the Rosewood Brand Hotel. So we spoke out, and this is the representative of the Rosewood Dam with the Big Samson Key operation. He spoke out after the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection, the DEPP, public consultation on his group's $200 million Rosewood branded project saw the neighboring development and environmentalists object to its density and plans to dredge its northern marina site. So, and we talked about this before, but we put a big marina up to the north and all the rest of that. The EIA, the Environmental Impact Assessment, revealed plans to dredge almost 240,000 cubic yards of fill to create those two marinas. So Bob McLaughlin, or Coughlin, yeah, boy, look here, I know the man. Bob Coughlin, Turtle Grass Resorts principal, said the ocean current in the area, coupled with its biodiversity, makes Integra's location for the northern dock, which will also be used as an industrial dock, inappropriate. He suggested Rosewood Exuma use a site on the southern end of the island, which will not require dredging and is not directly in view of Turtle Grass guests. So he's saying, you all go to the south side and put this big dock in there, because around here you ain't got no seagrass, meadows, mangrove bushes, and you know all this stuff with sequestering all the carbon dioxide out there. You ain't got none of that to deal with. So just go to the south side and the water already deep. But you harbor there. But now they may want to harbor right next to where the hotel could be. And if they could put it on the south side of Samson Key, and they may have to create ways of transporting the people who in the marina to and from their hotel room, right? Well, we don't know what could happen, but the authorities dealing with it, eh? So Mr. Coughlin said his $75 million low density, in other words, he ain't digging up no seabed and stuff like that to do his operation, right? Eco-friendly resort is not compatible with Rosewood Exuma's current plans. And placing an industrial dock. Why is it an industrial dock? Because they got to do a lot of work bringing them ships and all that material and all that. He ain't want that because he's trying to keep the place tranquil, eh? Too close to where his clients would conduct water activities such as kayaking and snorkeling, would make his resort not economically viable. Now his resort already in place. So what he's saying is, they bring that big dock right across the road from me. My people are snorkeling and doing. My people ain't gonna come to me no more because what they were snorkeling and seeing on them seagrass meadows and things and the reef, all that could be dig up. So maybe he need to go to the north side of his key or the west side of his key and do his snorkeling, right? Well, we don't know. The bottom line is those in authority are dealing with it. Let's see who money could be the longest to get their way. Because one thing I learned, I always remember when I was working the port, we got this call to come out life at key. And you know, this used to be a good opportunity to go in them big time houses and see what's going on. There was a lady, and I think that was me and Ian Ford, or me and Molly. I think it was Ian I gone on there with. We go on a life at key. And this gentleman tell us, man, this woman put this contraption on the beach where she got a little skiff anchored out in the sea from the beach, but she paralyzed, so she in a wheelchair. And she got this wheelchair contraption where she could pull her wheelchair out to the water and then pull a boat and hop in a boat, leave a wheelchair there, go on a skiff, come back, and go on the contraption again to get back to in a yard to her house. So what she really did is they had a nice continuous beach, but she put this like train track contraption like that went from a property to the edge of the water. So my boy say when he doing his jogging, now see me and you can't even go to this beach. This is life of key. We can't get behind the gate, right? All they got is good beach in the back. I can tell you, I've been in the back there many times for disputes like this. So go on in the back there, me and Ian, we look at the contraption. I say, boy, she need a permit to do this. Let's put this thing on the sea, on the beach, and cause restriction to people walking along the beach, especially that going beyond high water mark, right? You know, I like pull my little law. So the gentleman took me back in. Of course, we had some collect sodas, sit down and talk. And you know, he's a multi-millionaire, probably billionaire. I don't know. I don't remember his name. But when I got back to the office and I reported to my boss, Harvey Sweeten, the port control at the time, I said, boss, I mean, you know, this man, he's complaining. I think you have a point that this lady shouldn't, I mean, just for her own private purpose, impede the beach. So you go jogging along the beach, you guys stop and walk over this contraption, but could cause you get leg down if you don't see it, if it's dark. Man, people should be able to just utilize the beach without one person putting some. Anyway, I don't know what is concluded, but when the lady lawyer called me, she said, Mr. Bain, yes, I understand you. I said, well, you know what, it's going to become a court matter. I have been hired to deal with this. I said, Mr. Bain, do me a favor. I don't remember the lawyer name. One of those lawyers, boy, he wasn't that old with you. One of the young lawyers. He said, do me a favor, Mr. Bain. When these people with all this big bucks getting in these entanglement, just tell them you can't get in that. Get your lawyer. Because at the end of the day, let the money battle this out. So that's what you do, boy, and I never forget that. But anyway, this is a very similar situation to people doing contraption. And we talk about the Moscow property too, where they would have put groins or rocks in the pathway of me or you walking along the public beach, and when we reach that beach, we can't get no further, even if it's low tide. And somebody has to allow that. And that is in violation of our law. So whichever government entity allowed, well, I wouldn't say allowed, authorized that, right? Because it had to be authorized. You can't just do that on your own, otherwise you're breaking the law. We know money's go round now. Yeah, once your pocket deep, you can do almost anything in this country. But first thing we need to do before this resort is completed is make sure that contraption is moved. And if they have one on the next side, move that too. Because the beaches should not be impeded by grounds and stuff for nobody private purpose. Because they ain't nobody owned beyond high water mark. Run your grind to high water mark and stop. That's my view. Number to call again. Those who may think I wrong on that, or those who want to tell me I'd really go, 359-1424. That's 359-1424. I know how come I get no calls, because the boss just lied up a little while ago. Anyway, we are going to take our second break. I can see if I can get some calls out. Stop me right here. And when we come back from our second break, we're going to move on to our international feeds. We can talk about this hurricane coming up across the road. We can talk about how the port strike stopped and what damage was done in the interim. We can talk a little bit more about this the world's largest cruise ship getting ready to be launched. Well, the Houthis, again, I don't know if we can reach the Houthis and the stuff they was doing. But we really need to talk about this net zero by 2050. Boy, I might have to leave that for next year. Net zero by 2050 is where we're going, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to take our second break on Maritime Matters. I'm your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Please stay tuned. We shall return shortly.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
Love 97 FM. Love 97 FM. Often imitated, never duplicated.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay. I've had nothing to live for, look like nothing's gonna come my way. So I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Look like nothing's gonna change. Everything remains the same.
Yes, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Maritime Matters live on Love 97 FM. We ticking and talking. My name is Captain Glenn Bain. I am your host. And we're moving on to our international maritime feeds. Again, we're having a problem with our regular line. So I'm asking you to call me via cell. Please feel free to call 359-1424. That's 359-1424. A reminder to drive carefully out there. The roads are wet. The roads are flooded. We got a lot of accidents going on right now. We don't need you to be getting in no accident. Pay attention. Put your phone down. You got to be extra cautious when you got these puddles, and you don't want your car flood out, so you don't want to be driving through them puddles too fast, especially if you get a low car. That could be a problem. So, in our international feeds, we're talking about the Florida ports as they brace for extremely life-threatening Hurricane Milton. And we said earlier, and boy, and we down to 20 minutes, so we got to pick up our speed, right? We said earlier that last week there was Hurricane Helene. She hit Florida, the Tampa area, and she got straight across Florida, but she was in, that's right, it was her category 1 hurricane. It was like a storm and then it turned hurricane. It dumped a lot of water, rooted up a lot of trees, but this one, named Milton, this dude came on bad. He was category 5, dropped to category 4, back up to category 5, and at the end looked like there's nothing between him and the west coast of Florida to slow him down. Although they initially estimated that when he make landfall, it'll probably be category 3. And I don't want you to think category 3 is no easy hurricane. One time ago, that's what the kind of hurricanes we used to see on a regular. Category 3. Category 5 is only a recent thing. I think our Hurricane Andrew, it didn't make, well, it hit Eleuthera strong. And once it passed Eleuthera, it gone straight across Bimini, Miami, Florida, and Mesa, Florida. It passed northern Nassau, but 40 miles northern. I remember that, boy, and that was tight and compact. It wasn't big and wide like this Milton fella. This Milton fella reminded me of Matthew. Matthew was so big and broad and wide and powerful. And he come right between Andres and Nassau. Boy, good thing that I didn't come over us. Because he was like 20 miles to the west of Nassau. And all those docks who Clifton Pier get broke up. All they had flood all over the southern parts of New Providence. Right? Because it was just so wide. And when you go on to Freeport, oh man, he did another number. Anyway, Hurricane Milton underwent extreme intensification as it churned across the Gulf of Mexico on Monday, according to the National Hurricane Center, and is now headed to Florida west coast as a high category 5 storm. As of Monday night, the storm was packing sustained winds of 155 knots. Now, not miles per hour. I wonder why they say knots. Must be because it's a maritime feeding. 155 knots is about just under 170 miles per hour. Because you know a knot, a mile per hour got to be higher than a knot. Because a nautical mile is a little longer than a land mile. Anyway, and air pressure was so and so. According to the Hurricane Center, the storm could intensify more overnight, given extra warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico. So they're looking at this to really make landfall big time. Big time. Milton has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes on record for West Central Florida. In other words, over 100 years ago, they say they had something that probably could rival this. But in the past 100 years, they have nothing like this. That's why everybody getting out and they're so scared, because you need to be scared when something monster like this coming after you, eh? And they go on to say this is an extremely life-threatening. As a matter of fact, I was listening to the news on CNN before I left to come here. And you know what they said? They said, if you don't get out of those low-lying areas, you will die. That's what the officials, Ron DeSantis and his people saying. You will die. Well, they say you might die. You will die. I don't know if that's scaring people or not, but it's enough to scare me, right? So that's how they're carrying on with this hurricane. And they're asking a lot of people to evacuate. Get out of Dodge while you could. They say, listen, get out as quickly as you can. Do not wait. That's what the mayor, Jane Castor, told reporters Monday morning. In addition to evacuating residents, state and local officials have turned their attention to an unusual problem. The post-storm cleanup from Hurricane Helene is not yet complete. So a lot of those rubbles are still in the streets. And mountains of debris remain piled up at curbsides and local collection points. These piles of broken appliances, construction materials, and trash have the potential to become projectiles when Hurricane Milton arrives later this week. So Governor Ron DeSantis has ordered an all-out, round-the-clock cleanup effort to get as much of the debris into landfills as possible before the next storm arrives. Boy, so they moving around like flash right now trying to get rid of most of that stuff. And then they say on the other side of Florida, ports along the Atlantic seaboard are also in the storm's path, though it will weaken over land. Milton will likely arrive over northeastern Florida, still packing hurricane strength, in anticipation of the effects. The U.S. Coast Guard has set advance warning of closures to ports of Charleston, Savannah, Brunswick, Jacksonville, and Port Canaveral, along with smaller harbors, because they're the ones that are more north. They ain't saying nothing but Port Everglades and Miami. They came down as far as Port Canaveral. So I guess the cruise ships could continue with, but depending on whether this storm take a twist or a turn to the south or the north, because it may not go exactly as tracked. But if it go a little bit to the south, Miami have to close. If it go a little bit to the north, Canaveral may be able to open back up, right? So that's how we're looking from here. That's the storm. Again, the number to call if you want in on this discussion, 359-1424. I only trust and hope that the call will get through, because in this room, they got so much stuff going on. It ain't as easy to get through on the call. But try me on the cell phone, because our regular number's having some major issues, I think, based on this weather. We're having some problems. So, operations resume at the U.S. East Coast / Gulf Coast ports after the ILA strikes. Remember the ILA? I thought it was International Labor Organization, but it's the International Longshoremen Association or something like that, right? Within hours of the tentative agreement on the wage portion of the International Longshoremen Association contract, ports along the U.S. East and Gulf Coast began implementing their predetermined restart following the strike. So what they did is, after the strike, because they had a couple of ships laying off, wouldn't come in, because if they come in, there ain't nobody can wake them. And they had some cargo that was just sitting on the tarmac and all over the place. The people that say 1 minute past midnight, we stop. They just leave everything just as it was. So now they got to go and clear away those things and let the ships come in, start taking them stuff off, and all the rest of that. But the strike itself only lasted like 3.5 days. And the reason being, it was going to be a mega problem, not only for the workers, but especially for the ship owners, for the port owners. And they decided they could bite the bullet, and we got to get these people back working again. We got to keep things moving through. And in that regard, they decided to pay them up to 62%. I think it's going to be paid in spurts. I think I read somewhere where it'd be paid in spurts, like $5 per hour this year, then every year for the 6, because it's only a 6-year contract. Every year during that 6 years, they're going to step up. Oh, here it is. President Joe Biden and Acting Secretary of Labor Julie Su, that's Chinese, both issued statements highlighting that collective bargaining had worked. They applauded the efforts, quick agreement, and recognition of the vital contribution of the dock workers. Sources told CNN that the statement is for $4 per hour in wages annually, which amounts to about 10% increase for each of the 6 years of the contract. So $4 an hour is like 10%, eh? So each of those 6 years they'll get 10%. So you get $4 for 2024, then it'll go up to $8 for 2025, straight up to 20. That's how they say? Yeah, that's how they say it go. The total $24, because 4 times 6 is 24. Increase is 62% for the life of the contract. They are saying the strike amounted to the difference between a $3 an hour offer from the people who own the port and a minimum of $4 set by the union. So the union set it to $4 an hour, and the people who own the port set it to $3 an hour, and they got close to 4. So they might say, well, let's just do 4. 62% of the 77, that's like 4. So the plan is that the two sides will return to the negotiating table to resolve the remaining issues, with the master contract extended to January 15th. They will still have to tackle the ILA demand for no automation. In other words, we didn't want no computers coming and taking our jobs, right? Asked about the current level of automation, Rooney said there is no full automation in the port of New York and New Jersey. The port proposed continuing the current contract terms on automation. In other words, they ain't supposed to put none as long as the contract exists, right? That's over the next 6 years. The calls for a committee, including union reps, to review any requests from the terminal operators for any automation system. So they're going to meet again in the middle of January, just to conclude that we just want to know, yeah, we don't get our money, but you all ain't going to replace us with no machine. Amen to that, eh? So we talk about the world's largest cruise ship leaving the assembly dock to be outfitted. The Star of the Seas. Now, you know the Icon is the largest. The Star, a little bit larger than that. That's why they call it now the largest ship. And then this is only the second one from that same mold that the Icon is made from. The second ship in Royal Caribbean, Icon class, left dry dock last week after 19 months of work. So it took 19 months to put that ship together. Now they're going to be refitted with machinery and all the rest of that stuff. The assembly phase of the massive cruise ship, which will be one of the largest in the world, well, will be the largest in the world, was completed, and she moved to interior outfitting ahead of her schedule, August 2025 maiden voyage. So next year, August, she's ahead of the plans as far as getting her refitted, and next year, August, she should be on the loose, eh? On the road. I want to bring that one to the Bahamas too. And I think we get enough. But we need more ports. We need more ports so that we can have more ships. You ain't got no problem having ships, you know, but give us more ports. Thank you very much. The shipyard highlighted some of the final stages of the assembly, including fitting the Azipod propulsion system. So those big, huge ships, those biggest ships in the world, they use ports. They use what you call Azipod. They don't have regular propellers. They got this thing what go down on a stem, something like the rudder, and it could turn 360 degrees and give full power from any direction. I know because I used to be on them when the pilots were bringing them in. Yes, I was a pilot in training. They didn't give me an opportunity to drive that big set, but I saw how they actually maneuver. And I can tell you, that's why they're stronger than any tug you could put on them. Those things are monsters, and the engines are like monsters too, eh? So Star of the Seas is the second ship of Icon class. She will rival her sister ship as the world's largest cruise ship. So they make her a little bigger than the last one, right? She's slightly behind schedule with the company in February, delaying her entry into service a few weeks of the end of August 2025. When she enters service, she will be sailing year-round from Port Canaveral. So that's another one coming in our area, so you know she got to stop to Nassau, eh? The cruise line bills her as having 8 neighborhoods. That's the size of this massive monster. 8 neighborhoods, each focusing on elements such as outdoor entertainment or families. It is a ship of superlatives, including 6 of the fastest and tallest water slides on a cruise ship. So she got the 6 slides she can have could be the biggest on any cruise ship. Atop the ship is the Aquadome, a multi-purpose entertainment space. So the Aquadome is like a big dome where you're doing all your partying and your restaurants and a lot of that stuff going on in the Aquadome, eh? There will be more than 40 ways to dine and drink. So more than 40 bars and restaurants. She will have 20 decks, 18 for passengers, with over 2,800 passenger cabins. That's cabins now. Each cabin carries more than one person. Double occupancy for passengers, based on 2 per cabin, will be over 5,600 passengers and a total passenger capacity with all berths of approximately 7,600. So when you talk, because some of the cabins have 4 bunk beds. I've seen them in some of those ships. So some have 2 beds, some have 1 bed, some suites. It depends on what you pay for. That's what you get, right? But when all of the berths are accounted for, they can carry up to 7,600 passengers. She will have 2,350 crew members. That's how huge this cruise ship is. We can talk some more about cruise ships next show. But what we can say about cruise ships, what I want to get on is the Bahamas have more cruise ships on our flag than any other country. So why is it that we don't have much Bahamians working on those cruise ships? We know all the owners, we're in bed with them all the time. On those cruise ships, they got restaurants. They got jewelry stores. You need crew to run the ship. You got engineers. You got all kind of things on those ships that Bahamians do every day. So we have to find a way, whether it be directly through the Ministry of Transport. And I know when my sister Glenasana Martin was Minister of Transport, she told me directly, Mr. Bain, I'm working on the ship owners, and we got to find a way to get Bahamians on those ships. And she, well, of course, they lost the election because, you know, we Bahamian people to swing them out left, right, and center. We after one shake, that's it. So she didn't have an opportunity for the continuity. And I don't recall who took over from her the first time or even the second time. But all I know is she tried, and I don't think it happened, because here it is. We still have a lot of crew. We still have more than any other country in the world. Cruise ships are now flag, and I know for a fact that we don't have much Bahamians on those cruise ships. Most of the Bahamians we have on them working as officers, not even ratings, which is sad, because Bahamians could be better ratings than almost any nationality in the world. We strong people. Plus, we speak good English, better than plenty other countries. So, like the Icon of the Seas, this ship is dual fuel designed to operate on liquefied natural. So this ship is going to be operating on LNG, the same LNG that Nassau Cruise Port want to provide for them to plug into. Why would they plug into Nassau Cruise Port LNG if they're already burning LNG? They want to save carbon emission. They don't want to emit no carbon. So what they want to plug into is something where they can be emitting carbon. Get the solar. We need the solar for those ships to plug into. And they wouldn't hesitate to plug in the solar. Because they know once they do that, they're going to be saving the environment, eh? So Star of the Seas will be sailing year-round from Port Canaveral, Florida, alternating between itineraries in the eastern and western Caribbean. With the ship now out of the assembly dry dock, third ship of the Icon class will start assembly due to delivery in 2027. So this one can be delivered next year, and 1 year after that, the one would be delivered, they're going to now start building right in the same dock where this one that's come from. So the RCI, or the Royal Caribbean Group, in August 2024, also signed an order for fourth ship of the Icon class, due in 2027. So this Icon was last year. We got Star of the Seas getting ready now. They're going to start another one to be ready in 2026. And now they a fourth one for 2027. So every year, they're building a ship about $250,000 gross. You know how big and each one of them is like $2.5–3 million. So I don't want you to think there's no cheap ship. Atlantis is $3 billion. Each one of these ships is like what it costs to build Atlantis. And when they come, they bring us 6,000 to 7,000 passengers. Boy, we only could be a bunch of ungrateful people if we don't realize that's the way it need to go. So we know what's going on, right? Ship is reported to be costing as much as $2+ billion a piece. Now we ain't got much time, only 2 minutes left. We want to talk a little bit about the Houthis. The Houthis just had a big wave of attacks, right? Taking credit for attacks on several merchant ships, with reports saying that at least 2 vessels have suffered damage in the new barrage. These are the first attacks in nearly a month on merchant ships, and come as the Houthis threaten escalations after Israel attacked Yemen's seaport over a week and launched its attack on Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. So, you know the Houthis, they form the triangle between Hezbollah and Hamas. And, well, they all supported with ammunition and stuff by Iran. Because, you know, that Muslim grouping in that neck of the woods are very strong. And Iran basically is the strongest military country in that area. It used to be Iraq, I think, was a little stronger than Iran, or it was close. But Iraq, we know what happened to her. So she's out of whack right now. And Iran is basically trying to keep the faith with all the Muslim brothers and trying to assist the Palestinians from the onslaught that they under from Israel. Anyway, we have 1 more minute left. So all I can tell you is there was a lot of attacks on all the ships coming in that area. You had a tanker, you had a Maersk container ship, you had an Arabian a ship going to Russia from India. All those ships were attacked. Some of them were damaged, but most of them, they were just attacked. They didn't receive no direct damage. And then, as I told you, when we first open up, you still have the Sonian that has just been out nearly 7 weeks after Houthi terrorist attack. The tanker Sonian in the Red Sea. The fires that raged on the vessel's decks appear to have finally been put out based on open source satellite data. So when you look at satellite information to say that out, the Sonian was attacked by Yemen's Houthi rebel group 3 times on August 21st, disabling the engine and leaving the ship adrift. After the crew abandoned the ship, Houthi fighters returned to plant explosive charges on deck, starting multiple small fires that have burned for weeks. Greek salvors began fighting the fire aboard the Sonian on the September 23rd. Now they eventually put it out. And that, my friend, wraps up what we can be covering today on Maritime Matters. I'm your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Shout out to my producer, Mr. Craig Gibson. Shout out to my sponsors, Bahamas Maritime Connection. And then we got the split pharmacies of 1 and Island Care Pharmacy in Freeport. My Annie Mae, I want to say good night to you. Have a good night rest, Annie Mae. You know how we roll. And to you, my dear listener, I have to apologize. We wasn't able to call in. I know you wanted to call in. We can have this line sorted out for you next week. But we'll be back with some of the same topics. And with that, I say Maritime Matters. Tick, 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 tick. Out.
Sitting on a dock of